Hello everyone, I'm Mr. Hebert. I'm the head of English here at Nottingham High School, and I'm here to talk to you about English language at A level. Now, the first thing I need to address is why take English language, which I think is a perfectly valid question because all of you will be taking English language at either GCSE or IGCSE. And if you know anything about these courses, you'd ask yourself, why would I spend 2 more years doing that? And the answer is, you won't. A-level English language is nothing like GCSE English language. I'm sure we'll greet that with much relief. I think it's better to think of A-level English language as A-level English linguistics. You're studying language and how language works. Okay? GCSE English language is a literacy test. Can you read? Can you write? Can you express yourself clearly? Okay? If you're applying for A-level English language, we know you can do that, so we put that to one side. Rather, we're going to be taking a look at the type of language that you and I use to communicate and how it works. A lot of English language teaching is really about teaching you how to comment, how to analyze, how to reflect on the language that you use every day. So one thing that's worth highlighting is that English language is not a literary course. You're not going to be looking at Shakespeare. You're not going to be looking at poems. You're going to be looking at texts that are parts and parcels of everyday speech and everyday communication. Media texts, online texts, books, newspaper articles, magazine articles, speeches, presentations like this one. How am I using language to try and persuade you? Now, when it comes to the actual course, we focus on a number of areas. When you first join us in Year 12, we'll be giving you a lot of terminology. You'll be looking at how language works on the level of discourse, how we structure our speech, pragmatics, what we actually mean, semantics and lexis, the words that we choose. We'll be taking a look at graphology, how we write language out, how it appears and what kind of meanings those things communicate. And we'll be looking at how all these things work together to produce meanings. Once you've got that terminology under control, we begin to take a look at what we call sociolinguistics. This is how language operates in society. Right now, I'm doing something that's really, really weird. I'm talking into a camera. I have 2 other people in the room here that I'm not actually engaged with or communicating with. But most of the time when I'm communicating, I'm talking with people. I'm writing a text or sending a message to another person and getting some kind of interaction back from them. And when I do that, I'm representing myself, I'm representing the person I'm sending that message to, okay? And we're sending each other lots and lots of messages that are coded in the language that we use. So when we look at sociolinguistics, we ask ourselves, how does language work in society? We look at issues like gender. Do men and women talk differently? Is there truth in the old stereotype that women talk more than men? I'm not going to answer that question. I'll leave you to stew on that for a while. We take a look at how language changes over time. Why is your language different from your parents' language, different from your grandparents' language? Okay? How does youth slang work? Okay, is language getting better? Is it getting worse? We look at national languages. You'll recognize, many of you, that I'm not speaking in a typical British accent. That's because I'm Canadian. What is Canadian about the English that I'm using at the moment? Probably not much, my Canadian relatives would tell me at the moment. Okay, so you're looking at the way that language works in society. Finally, we also take a look at issues surrounding language. There's lots of debates going on about language. So, for example, political correctness. What's that all about? Does the words that we actually use impact the way that we represent people in society, or is this just, an argument over nothing? So you'll be looking at issues like that. We'll be looking at whether or not there is a crisis in English education. We take a look at language and how it works and how it impacts people in society. Now, in terms of the course, it's relatively simple. There are 2 examination papers and a coursework unit. Okay, your first examination paper looks at your ability, to analyze language. They'll give you some texts and ask you to comment on them and to compare them. The second half of the paper will ask you to take a look at some examples of children's language. How do children learn to speak? Okay, how do we, what stages do we go through learning language? We might be able to take a look at some children's writing and see how children develop their writing skills. In the second paper, you're looking again at these sociolinguistic areas and attitudes. You get presented with material that discusses some language issues and attitudes itself. You analyze those, and you produce a piece of writing of your own that gives your own view on these issues based on the knowledge you've been taught in the course. The coursework unit is actually quite interesting because, for one thing, it contains a creative writing element. Okay, your first bit of your coursework is what we call the original writing. You'll choose a distinctive example of an English writing style and kind of create your own pastiche of it. okay, with an accompanying commentary, explain to the examiner the choices that you are making to produce a piece in the style of your chosen or your favorite author. The second half of the coursework is what we call a language investigation. Here, you basically get to become your own linguist. Set yourself a task, a question. You might want to test out a linguistic theory, okay, on your friends, make some transcripts of their conversations and actually analyze. You set yourself a question, you collect in your data, and you draw your own conclusions. Those two things make up 20% of your final grade, which is your coursework. Your other two examination papers are 40% each. It's a really simple, straightforward course. If you do take this, where do you go from it? Well, certainly with English language, you can go all sorts of directions. Okay, this isn't just an A-level that leads to English. Okay, it ties in with a variety of subjects from journalism, psychology, sociology, anthropology. Okay, all these issues get touched on. We often have people that take English language in conjunction with A-level psychology because those two things overlap quite significantly. Okay, it's a great course for taking you in a variety of different directions. It's a great course if you enjoy thinking about and arguing about language usage. It's a great course if you enjoy actually engaging with the world around you as it is. This is a fantastic practical course, and I would endorse it wholeheartedly.